Hi, welcome back to Half of Heidi. Different video for you this time. I wanted to talk about depression and bariatric surgery. And I guess more specifically people who have depression prior to having bariatric surgery. There was an article that I read, and I'm going to read the title of it. It's over here on my other screen. So, when mood worsens after gastric bypass surgery, characterization of bariatric patients with increases in depressive symptoms following surgery. I'm going to put a link to the article or journal paper in the description bar if you'd like to read it. It's a little bit of a hard slog, especially if you're not used to reading scientific papers, but it is actually really interesting. And I just wanted to talk about the subject matter as well as, I guess, why they did this study and what they found. And just, I guess, share some of my thoughts on it. So basically, the reason that the researchers did the study was because there's been an amount of research to understand depression post-bariatric surgery in terms of the beneficial effects of surgery, so people whose depressive symptoms have decreased. And it's actually it's a very high percentage. I can't quote what the percentage is, but it's a very high percentage. I know that because my psychiatrist basically told me about it when she was suggesting that I consider weight loss surgery. Obviously, not only weight loss surgery as a tool to use to help in weight loss, but her hypothesis is that I will also have an improved mood and reduced depression if I go down this path, basically if I lose the weight, because there have been these studies that have proven that there is this increase in mood and decrease in depressive components. What was really interesting, though, was this study where they said, okay, that's cool, and I'm paraphrasing, that's cool, but what about the people who go the other way? What about the people who have depression prior to surgery and it actually gets worse post-surgery? What do we know and what can we find out about them? So they did a study. It was relatively small. It was 107 participants, but all of them had depression prior to the surgery. The results basically indicated that I think it was 13 or 14% of those people, their depression increased in the 6 to 12 months after they'd had the surgery. When the researchers looked at the people whose depression increased, the people whose depression stayed the same, and the people whose depression decreased, they found that their weight loss progress was pretty similar. Their BMIs were really similar. Their demographic backgrounds were really similar. So it was obvious to them that it wasn't just, oh, this group of people haven't lost as much weight and they're depressed about it. They went and had a look at some of the baseline testing that they did prior to people having the surgery. And one in particular stood out to them as a correlation anyway, in terms of this particular group, their differing results from one of the baseline tests compared to the others. And that was actually one of the self-esteem tests. The people whose depression actually got worse in the 6 to 12 months post-op had a lower starting self-esteem to begin with in comparison to the other participants. Reading that and understanding that really struck a chord with me, because I thought of all the things I've read and all of the things I've seen and everything that we talk about, there is a huge, huge physical change in what you're doing post-op. And it looks like this group of people, in terms of the people whose depression worsened, did exactly the same stuff as everybody else because they had the same weight loss success. They had the same, I should say, the lack of complications, all of that kind of stuff. The only thing, or the missing ingredient for them, was a healthy mind when it came to how they thought about themselves and how they viewed themselves. No amount of weight loss, no amount of, well, anything really, is going to change how you feel about yourself if you don't change how you think about yourself. Low self-esteem can be really crippling. It is absolutely when you say horrible things to yourself. It is when you believe that you're less than other people, when you don't deserve to be happy, when you don't deserve certain things, when you put yourself last, when you... I think a lot of it comes to negative thoughts and negative talk. The stuff that you say to yourself and the stuff that you let other people say to you without standing up for yourself because you believe, well, what you kind of deserve it, that you're not that good of a person anyway. It is amazing, I guess, how many people go into weight loss, and whether it's surgery or just weight loss in general, thinking that once I've lost weight, I'll like myself more. That's not the case. This study really helps to demonstrate that. If you've got a low self-esteem and you do nothing about it, you don't treat the mind, and all you do is treat the body, your mind isn't going to change. Of course, I'm generalising. There's going to be people who they lose weight and they do feel better about themselves and they get confidence. And we see that in turn, and we, like I'm part of the group, we've seen that though in terms of there are some people, both male and female, who will get the confidence to leave their relationship if they're unhappy in their relationship prior to the surgery, because they feel more confident that they can find another partner and things like that. It's very different to self-esteem though. Self-esteem is just exactly self-love. It is how you view yourself. So here's here's just my thoughts. Being somebody who has had a lifelong battle with self-esteem issues, I want to talk about it. I wish we all talked about it more. I wish it was spoken about at the surgeon's appointment to say, I don't know, maybe even if they did baseline testing and they tested everybody on their self-esteem, and if you fall within this bracket, then you have some sort of therapy before you have surgery. Or at least it's offered to you as something to consider. The therapy that I've had, and I absolutely admit I've had therapy, I've needed therapy to help me with my self-esteem issues. They've been very severe, but they've been invaluable. They are just, I would not be in the right mindset. And the reality is I feel like I probably would have fallen into that 13-14% of people if I hadn't had all of this therapy, and if I hadn't been on the journey that I've been on to better understand myself and to appreciate who I am and the uniqueness of me and the skills and talents that I have. I think a year or 2 years ago was probably when I really actually started to make progress, I guess, in my journey of understanding myself and appreciating who I am as an individual. There's a difference between wanting to improve yourself and recognizing areas for improvement and taking action about them. But there's another thing to feel like there's nothing special about yourself, or that you've got no skills or talents, or basically appreciating nothing about yourself, or even going so far the opposite end of somebody who has that understanding and that clarity about themselves, and actually hating yourself, to go to the extreme where you hate yourself and you can't stand anything about yourself. I'll give you some examples. So I used to beat myself up for being too sensitive. I used to be what people would say to me or whatever really hurt me. I'd let it all in, and it would really, really hurt me. my father has commented to me that he will have to think about what he says before he says it to me because he doesn't want to upset me. It's interesting though, because there's a difference between saying something hurtful to someone and them legitimately being upset by that. That doesn't mean you're overly sensitive. That means the other person's a bastard or an asshole and they should never have said something hurtful to you. Especially if it was on purpose. My psychologist basically put it like this. If I took away my sensitivity, it means I also would outwardly not be as sensitive a person in terms of caring of other people and their feelings. It makes me like a really good people manager at work because I genuinely care about people. I can empathise with people. Makes me, good in my relationship with my husband and with my family and with my friends because I'm sensitive to their needs as well as my own. I love animals, and again, I'm just sensitive to everything that's going on around me. And I've actually now realised I love the fact that I'm a sensitive person. I love the fact that I can be there for other people. I can be there for animals. I can, you name it. I'm actually really, really happy to have this characteristic. But years ago, I thought that I was weak and pathetic for being so sensitive. And now it's fascinating because what I called sensitive and, oversensitivity, and the way that came across to others. So not people who were mean and said horrible things that made me cry, but the way that it manifests and the way that it is portrayed in terms of how you care for other people and how you empathise with other people. Those people will say it back to you. They will say, oh, you're so nice, or you're so understanding, you're so caring, you're so considerate, you're all of these things. That's actually what they see. They're not coming back to you saying, oh, wow, you're a really sensitive person or you're oversensitive. I'll just say, in case my father watches this video, had an interesting relationship with my dad growing up. He is on the other end of the sensitivity scale than I am, or the emotionality scale. So we were always going to kind of rub up the wrong way with each other. So I'm not going to hold that against him. But that's just one example. So there's things you internalise, and then there's things you look at on the outside of yourself and say that you hate about yourself. And again, whether it's, and I'll give you another example, my nose. My nose is really not going to change that much once I've lost weight. So if I don't just appreciate it for what it is and the fact that it can smell, and I can smell amazing food, and I can smell flowers, and I can smell when it's raining, and I can smell when someone's cut the lawn, I can smell when something is bad and I should avoid it. And I appreciate my nose for what it does and what it gives for me. I may not like the shape of it, but I have a nose and I'm appreciative of that. There are people who have no sense of smell, my husband being one of them, for example. People who've been in war, people who've had all sorts of accidents and have actually lost their nose. So why am I so ungrateful that I would care about the shape of my nose when my nose, I have one and it functions really well and gives me great pleasure. Like I said, smelling roses, smelling perfume, smelling all kinds of fragrances. It's just delightful. There's so many things that we have got to, as individuals, turn around and look back at ourselves and appreciate. And I guess the old adage, not sweat the small stuff. But I'm not saying pull your socks up and, smile and grin and bear it or anything like that. I'm actually advocating therapy. I'm advocating people seeking help. I don't believe that you can just go, I'm going to be less sensitive, or I'm going to appreciate who I am. I do think it takes time. It takes a lot of effort. Sometimes it takes a financial investment, depending on which country you're in, whether you're insured, whether your insurance covers it, whether your government has a health benefit to cover it. But yeah, that statistic, so 13 to 14% of people with depression who have bariatric surgery have worsening depression symptoms 6 to 12 months post-operation. That statistic, I believe, is significant enough that we should be thinking as a community about how we talk about that more pre-operatively, and how we do more pre-operatively to help people get in the right mind space. It really worries me that these people, you know, not only do they do the financial investment, but they go through an extraordinary effort to go through, you know, the surgery, through all of the dieting and everything that comes post-operatively, to have depression worse than when they started. That in itself can lead into another cycle, just spiraling down. Obviously, there's no study that I've seen anyway that talks about suicide and self-harm and things like that in terms of bariatric patients. But I think for quite a large proportion of bariatric patients with depression, I believe a lot of them would have been told that that weight loss and everything will help with your depression. The studies definitely show that, and that is the statistic that, you know, we get told. But there's absolutely this population of people who have really low self-esteem, who weight loss surgery and losing weight, it's not going to fix that. It's just not. And it's those people who I really hope see this video or any other videos out there on YouTube, or any articles that are written about this before they've had the surgery. So you can really, really think about, how do you improve your self-esteem? It's just so important. I think, I don't know, just talk to people. If you don't have depression, but you know someone with depression who is going to have the surgery, even if you don't know anybody who's got depression who's going to have the surgery, let's talk about it more as a community. I just think that there are, you know, given the statistics in terms of how many people have depression, given the statistics around people with depression being overweight, I think that there's going to be quite a few people out there that this impacts. And I think it would just be great if we could hurry up and start focusing on people's mental health at the same time as physical health, and acknowledging that this is a really important research study in terms of what it's found. Anyway, I'll leave it there. I just wanted to give you some thoughts, share the research article. Like I said, I'll link it in the description box below. If you want to talk to me about depression, if you're going through anything that, you know, you need help and you just would like to bounce ideas off someone or talk to someone or anything, please do reach out to me, and I genuinely mean that. I really, really hope that as a community we can absolutely stick together and I don't know, keep learning, keep finding out new tools and techniques and ways to make our lives the best that they can be. And a lot of the time that is definitely through looking out for each other. So I hope you're having a great week. I hope you're having a great day in general. And if you're not, it's just today. Tomorrow is a new day. See what it brings. I think that, I don't know if it helps at all, but I'm thinking of you, whoever you are. Okay, bye.